Good morning, and welcome to Tuesday Morning 2. This past week in our country, there was a monumental court decision that was overturned with Roe versus Wade. And typically we don't dive into stuff like this, but with the things going on in our country, I felt it was very important to address that. So this is a huge victory for sanctity of life, and we celebrate that. We celebrate the preservation of life that begins in the womb. So now what? What do we do now as Christians as we celebrate that? What's our next step forward? Well, I wanted to point you to a verse in James chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world." You know, this is a really powerful verse in light of all the recent court decisions. And basically, it starts out by saying, this is what God says is good. This is what God says is right. And then it talks about visiting orphans and widows. And the inclusion of both of those is just a way of expressing a group that has no voice for themselves. Orphans and widows in scriptural time had no power, no authority, no value. And it's telling us as followers of Jesus that we should be looking out for and taking care of these individuals, these groups of people. And so now that there are children being born into this world, it is our role as followers of Christ to take care of them. So what does that mean for us today? How can we individually be a part of that ministry? Well, one of the things we can do is we can pray. You know, we can pray for foster families. We can pray for God's protection among them. We can pray for their provision. You can sign up to be a foster family. You can sign up to be a babysitter for a foster family to help provide for that. We can pray for adoptive families. You can sign up to adopt a child through multiple agencies. And we can support organizations that provide for these. We can support financially, we can support in prayer, and we can support in our time, donating our time to certain organizations that take care of children in these situations. And so I just want to ask you to pray. I want to ask you to pray with me this week. Take some time out as soon as this video closes and pray for our nation. Pray for the direction that we're going and the next steps that we get to take as believers to show God's love to these families who are now impacted by this court decision. I love you. Thank you for praying with me. Hope to see you next week.